What's up? What's up? It's the Hungry Millennial back again with yet another Proactive Pragmatism. On this Proactive Pragmatism, we're carrying on with our series Millennials Are. This next millennial that I'm bringing to the table is intelligent, highly motivated, process driven, and most of all, debt free. I'd like to introduce to you Shawn Hutson. What's going on, bro? Welcome to the podcast. How you doing?
What's going on, man? Thank you for inviting me.
Hey, man, I appreciate you coming through. So without further ado, before we get too far in this process, because there are also not very many people that can say they're debt free. Tell us about the debt free Shawn Hutson.
It feels good, man. Like every single day, I was waking up thinking about my credit card debt and my student loans, and I'm just like, yo, I gotta pay this off. But that really didn't come until I read about Dave Ramsey.
Okay, that's pivotal. So how did Dave Ramsey change your process of looking at debt?
It really started with my college professor, Miss Bess.
Okay.
I was visiting her house, and it was a beautiful house. And I'm like, yo, what should I do in order to get to where you are? I want a beautiful house like you. And she was like, have you ever heard of Dave Ramsey? I was like, Dave Ramsey? No, I never heard of this guy. Who is he? She was like, I want you to check him out. He talks about paying off all your debt. So at the time, I was like big into gambling, and I was tired of losing my money. So I was going to like the boat and the casinos and Vegas and everything, man. It was terrible.
Vegas? Oh, you was big money roller out there.
Yeah, it was rough, man. I didn't know any other way to make money other than gambling and working. So yeah, I picked up his book, Total Money Makeover, and I read his book, and most of the book is talking about other people's steps into taking the baby steps. And every single step that I read and every story that I read, I'm like, you know what, I could do that too. So that's really how it got started. Like I just simply saw that other people can do it, even though I didn't even know them in real life. I'm just reading about them in a book. I was like, you know what? Let me get this a shot.
Wow, that's powerful because like I also like kind of fell into the book just out of frustration. Like I was on YouTube because I'm always checking out videos and stuff, and I'm like always listening to different podcasts. And then here come Ramsey voice. Like you, bro, that voice is so distinct that you broke. And I'm like, oh my goodness. Bro, I'm like, I am though.
Yeah, how much you make? He'd be like, you broke.
I mean, bro, that's the craziest part about the whole journey is, like you said, you saw other people doing it, so you could do it. And it's powerful because you're a teacher, right? So you're in education. Teachers are some of the most underpaid professionals in America, hands down. Like I could never do what y'all do. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like one-on-one coaching, stuff like that, small groups, cool. But the headaches y'all got to deal with on top of being saddled with debt, like that has to be the worst nightmare.
Yeah. Hey, I got to tell you, because I started off as a paraprofessional, which is like working one-on-one when I first graduated from college. And I was so happy, man. I was so happy. I went into class every day smiling and stuff. And the kids were like, why are you smiling? I'm like, I'm doing my dream job. I've been wanting to do this since 5th grade. And then one day they asked me to sub another class because my kid wasn't there. I'm like, you know what? I want to be a teacher one day anyway, so I might as well get, my feet wet. Man, they was trying to drive me up the wall purposefully. Like, I'm like, you are clearly trying to get on my nerves. Like, you know what you're doing is wrong. And I remember, because I had to do this for 3 days. The first day they tried me, you know, I'm like, all right, you know, chill out, relax. You know, day 2, I'm like, okay, y'all starting to get under my skin for real. Like, stop. Day three is when I told them what's up. I said, hey, y'all, listen. Do you know how much it costs to get a college degree? And I'm gonna be honest. I went to one of the least expensive universities, you know, in Illinois, EIU. Yeah. I said, y'all, do you know how much it costs for 1 year at EIU? When I went, they guessing and stuff. I said, do you know it costs $20,000? At that time, it was $20K. I said, I was there for 5 years. And how much is that in total? I don't know where. Somebody screaming out 1 million. I said, yo, what's 5 times 20K? What's 5 times 20? Okay. So they finally figured it out. They say 100K. So this is when I like slam my hand on the desk. I ain't paying no $100,000 to get respected, disrespected. Yo, I said, this is the first time I ever subbed, and this will be the first memory that I ever have teaching. All right. And what's funny is this particular class, I ended up following them for like 3 years, man. They my babies. They my babies. I ended up following them for 3 years.
Man, and that's powerful because like I see a different Shawn than I saw in college. I see a lot more grittier Shawn. You know what I mean? Like you were like, bro, like I'm gonna be honest with you. You the reason why I started the visual part of this podcast. Because you was like, but you see, you have this way, and I've noticed because I've stalked your social media a little bit. You have a way in your circle of friends of like people going hard and like spitting facts and not really, and it's hard with social media anyway, not really softening the blow, right? And it was like looking at myself, talking to myself. Cause he's like, why don't you do this? Why don't you do that? And like in my mind, I'm like, man, Shawn, if you don't shut the fuck up before I beat your ass, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So it's like that was tearing me up. And I was like, you know what? He's right. He's right. You can go harder than this. And when I started thinking about it, I was like, I got to make this happen. But see, there's another part of it too, because somebody was coming at you about like stocks and stuff. And how do you take the brunt of that? Because I feel like we're basically Ramsey babies, right? So when you said what you said, he was saying different things. You're like, oh, I think you can do it faster. I think, you know what I'm saying? I knew where that was coming from. Like how do other people take that? Have you ever had any conversations with other people that are like, man, you come off as kind of, you know what I'm saying, harsh?
Man, hey, one thing is I'm very honest. Especially if you ask me a question, I will be very honest. Like, I don't feel bad about that part about me. I mean, it's got me in trouble when I was younger. But like as an adult, people respect it, you know? So I respect anybody's opinion, you know, especially when I put my business out there, you know? Like at first, I kind of wanted to keep everything to myself. When I read Dave Ramsey, I was actually really quiet about everything I was doing for 3 years. And then I was like, you know what? I don't think I should be quiet about this type of information because I didn't know it, so maybe somebody else don't know it. So I started like putting myself out there more, just, you know, to teach other people. And when I see other people's posts, you know, I'd be like, I don't think that's a good idea. You know, maybe you should try this. Right? So with me being honest, they can't wait for the opportunity for me to mess up. They're like, oh, you know, and the post you talking about is probably the one when I lost $1,000. Everybody like, you shouldn't have did that. You shouldn't have did options, man. You follow Dave Ramsey. You know, he always say don't do it. But to be completely honest, you know I shouldn't be doing it really, but I only, you know, lost 10%. You know, like
well, and here's the facts.
Yeah, like that $1,000 that I lost was only 10% of what I've been, you know, have invested. And that's what most of my books have been telling me. They was like, if you want to, you know, learn a few new things and you want to, you know, dabble in some things that you're not too sure about, only use up to 10%. So Dave Ramsey would say don't do it at all. But I'm like, you know what? I just want to see for myself. I like to make my own mistakes so I can understand the game.
Well, and that's real, because like also when you talked about like I could do debt free faster, you know, the concepts of Dave Ramsey still live with me. You know what I'm saying? I still got my savings plan. I'm still working towards things, but like I've got some stuff in the works that's gonna knock it out. We talked about this, but it's like it's one of those things where not everybody's willing to do the beans and rice in the process. And one thing that's beautiful is the fact that people are following the process. Like I don't feel guilty about being able to go get us, you know, if I want to spend $50 on a meal for me and the little one, I can do that, you know what I'm saying? And not feel guilty because I'm not living paycheck to paycheck like I was.
Mm-hmm.
You know, there's not a bunch of outside factors. And I think that's super powerful. The problem is, like, I've tried to read other books that was like, you know, kind of dipping away from Dave Ramsey, but like they was boring. Like, don't nobody hit, you know what I'm saying, hit the you broke like Dave Ramsey did. You know? And so, but here's another thing that's attached to that is, bro, you debt free. Most of the people that was coming at you sideways saying this, that, and other, they not. Well, and a lot of them probably got them PPP loans that, you know what I'm saying, they weren't supposed to get.
Yeah.
So, you know, it's one of those things where I'm glad that, and I just learned something. Don't do more than 10% if you playing with it. You know what I'm saying? Like if you playing with the money, just do the 10%, boy, and see where it go. Because I've also started to try to look into EFTs and stuff like that. And so I think it's very important to the audience. Make sure you check out the book, and I'm gonna plug the link in the description underneath this video when I upload it. Because I think the book has been super powerful and pivotal. And even when I look at certain things, I'm like, nah, you don't want that purchase. You don't need that. Like this shirt that I got on, I was like, you know what? If I focus on my health and get in shape, all the stuff that I've already bought, I can continue to wear and it look like new. I've had this pullover for probably like 5 years.
Yeah, that's true.
You know, and that's powerful because you start just looking, everything around you is different. Shawn, the problem with Dave Ramsey is like I have literally like I can't even date. I can't.
I did the same thing. I had to take a break from the dates,
bro. Like, well, and the thing is like you on the date talking about, oh yeah, I got that in cash. I did. You know what I'm saying? Like you don't even. You just excited that you started making steps. And a lot of people will become envious of that because they feel some type of way. And I'm like, me being excited about this is not to discredit you or your life. It's me telling you that you can do it if you want to.
Yeah, it's definitely
the problem is a lot of people don't want to. And it's like, you know, going through the plan, like I got a car in cash, did my thing. It's a nice little whip, you know what I'm saying? I went and deployed, you know what I'm saying, for my country. So I had to give me something nice, but it's paid off in cash. It's not brand new, you know what I'm saying? It's got a decent amount of miles on it, but not too many, right? But it's one of those things where when you make those decisions, people are like, oh, well, I need to give me something new. I'm like, no, you don't. Like the problem is people go to extremes. Yeah. Like they see you got something, so now they want the new. And I'm like, I bartered for this. Like I had the cash to pay more, but I went in there and I talked them down because I'm like, I know my numbers and you not finna fleece me into a lease. You know, that's that Dave Ramsey speak. You feel me? And so it's like people don't understand it's these small pivotal points that like get you to where you need to go. It ain't an overnight thing. And I think the problem is so many of us millennials have gotten tied to instant success. Even boomers, you know what I mean? Like it's really weird to me how, you know, Gen X and the boomers, like they expect things to just like this. I'm like, you were born in a society where nothing was quick. And so, but they're caught in the trap a lot harder than we are because I just see them getting $700, you know, car payments, stuff like that, you know? So how do you explain, like, how do you explain Dave Ramsey to people? Because there's a lot of my friends, it really turns them off. Like, it's like they're not trying to hear that. And I'm like, the solution to all your problems is starting the baby steps. And they don't get it. How do you have you had people like, hey, give me advice, and then it didn't follow through?
Man, you said so much I want to talk about before we even get to that point.
Nah, go ahead, bro.
I gotta take a step back, man.
Hey, go in, bro.
Man, when you start talking about the whip, right? Driving around in the car. I had a 2002 PT Cruiser that my mom gave to me back when I was in college, right? Okay. So I never ever had to buy a car because my mom just gave me her used car. So
that's love. Man, shout out to moms.
Yeah, shout out to moms. Man, that car gave me so many problems. Like after I graduated, like I would say I was spending somewhere between I would say at least $4,000 to $6,000, right? Just maintenance, basic maintenance plus fixing everything that was going wrong. I swear I know nothing about cars, but I learned a lot about cars when everything was going wrong with mine. I would just sit there and I'd be like, hey, why is this wrong again? And they'd show me under the hood and stuff. So I know a lot more, about cars because mine was always breaking down. So mind you, I'm losing $4,000 to $6,000 every single year. Every time I'm building my savings account, like it decreases when I throw it to get my car fixed. And my dad was like, yo, Shawn, just get a car. Just go get a new car. And I'm like, no, I don't want a car payment. I don't want a car payment. This car is already paid off. Man, I would say by the fourth year, like of being a professional working at the school, and I had that car for about 6 years. I was like, yo, let this thing break down one more time.
One more game.
I am done with this. Let it break down one more time. I was doing private tutoring on the side. I was in my gazelle intensity mode, trying to, save up money to pay off my debt. Man, the timing belt went out, and I called my pops and said, yo, my car stopped again. He said, you already know what I'm gonna tell you, to get a new car. And I'm like, I'm not gonna do it. And when we towed the car up to the place, they said, hey, listen, it's gonna cost you $2,000, right? And they was like, even if you do fix the timing belt, it might be something wrong with the engine, so you might have to even replace the engine. Dog. I was like, I'm not doing it, right? I'm not doing it. And my barber put me on to his mechanic, and he ended up fixing it for $1,000, right?
Okay.
I'm driving that thing home, and it's smoking. At that moment, I said, I'm done. I didn't even care that $1,000 was just spent. I'm done. I was on the bus ever since, and it was in the wintertime in Chicago. Do you know how cold it is?
Yeah. Facts.
I did not care. I said, I'm doing my car, right? So I just started paying for the bus. And what's that? $100 a month. So for 1 year, I'm only paying $1,200, right? For transportation.
That's tenacity.
So I'm like, you know what? I'm gonna take the money that I was spending to keep fixing the car to help me pay off my debt, right? First thing I paid off was my credit card, and then now I'm gonna be honest. Dave Ramsey says keep $1,000. That's step one. Keep $1,000 in your savings. That's your emergency fund. By the way, only like 40% of people can even afford a $1,000 emergency, right? That's one of the ways. That's one of the ways I kind of coerce people to try to step into Dave Ramsey. I'm like, do you have $1,000 saved? Like,
oh, you weak, huh? You can't even do that, huh?
Yeah, I know. You done with step one then?
That peer pressure.
So yeah, I kind of didn't do it that way. I didn't keep my 1,000 and then start paying my debt, which is step two, right? Baby step two is to pay off all your debt except for the mortgage. Instead, I stacked it. And my goal was to stack. I owe close to $50,000 in my student loans. So I said, okay, I'm coming close to being at the school for 5 years, so I can get $17,500 forgiven for being a teacher. And then if I stack the other $10K for 3 years, that'll be $47,500, right?
Okay.
So that was my plan, and I stuck to it, right? For 3 years, I saved $10,000 every single year, right? And what's funny is right when I got to the third year, that's when like the COVID thing happened, right?
Bro.
So Yeah, with the stimulus check and everything, all of that stuff. I paid my $10,000 in what 4 months. It was like 3 or 4 months. So instead of an entire year, me doing tutoring and all of that, I started doing tutoring online because my car was broken down. So I told all my clients, hey, let's try this thing online. So this teaching online thing ain't really new to me because I was already
powerful
for a few years.
And that's what's up, because all the steps that you needed for the future to be successful, like once you start making just slight changes in your life, everything else is just, it's like slight work. Like it's crazy that you said that, because like even while I was on deployment, when I was paying off, because I got the student loans left, about 30,000 worth of those, but everything I had repos, I had a bunch of stuff. Like I was out here clowning, bro. You know what I'm saying? Like you get the little military money from like basic training, you doing all that, and it's like, oh yeah, and then years go by, and then you don't know nothing about budgeting. You just trying to look cool, because like I was, I wasn't the popular kid at school. So you get a little money, so you trying to look like everybody else, even though that ain't really your style. You know what I'm saying? Like you don't even rock jerseys like that. And so, the conversation really was, hold on, let me fix my mic. The conversation really is like, how am I going to turn this thing around? And like, I'm going to say this, COVID was like one of my biggest life blessings, because you can't really do as much as you was doing. You can't move how you used to move. Right. So every encounter that I have to have has to be with some type of purpose. And so, and then another thing that fell in line, the government, like in order to have your security clearance and like verify with the military, you have to have your finances in order. They make you, because here's the thing, a threat or something can come and be like, hey, you know what? You in debt. How about I give you $100K, you give us access to whatever, like we're in the world of cybersecurity. So the government checked me, Ramsey checked me, and life checked me. And, I was driving around in the FedEx truck getting home. My car blew up. Like it wasn't working. Like it sat out there during for like a year. Ubering, renting cars to see my daughter, bro.
Yeah.
He was like, oh, Dad, what happened to the last one? You're like, oh, yeah, And so it was powerful, because I came up with this plan, and then I started seeing things. And Dave Ramsey talks about call your debt collectors, see if they'll settle. They were settling left or right. I'm telling you.
I tried that with my student loans. They ain't going.
Oh, no, not with student loans. No, they ain't going for that.
Hey, they was not going. I was like, hey, I got 10,000 right now. You would take it? No, you want the whole amount. I'm like, all right. That next day, I just paid off the whole thing.
Nah, those student loans crusty. You know what I'm saying? The good thing right now is if people are intentional and deliberate right now, they can either be stacking so they can start paying on their student loans and get rid of them, or they could be wiping them off, wiping that slate clean right now while the interest rate is down.
See, that's the tricky part. That's the tricky part. You just said that people should be paying off their student loans, but the argument now is, well, Joe Biden's going to forgive them. He's gonna take 50K off of our student loans. So here's my response to that. Save the money. Save the money on the side.
Yeah.
Worst case scenario, let's say he don't do it. At least you got the money on the side to now take care of your debt.
Now it's gone.
What if you only do 10K? Right? Well, guess what? You pay off everything, and you still got 10K to the side.
That's real.
But the worst thing that could happen is that you say, Joe Biden gonna take care of it, and you don't save anything. You just doing your life high,
riding around and getting it,
and then the compound interest takes effect on your loans, and then you look up 4 years from now, 8 years from now, because let's say he in office 2 terms, and your student loans double.
Man, and people don't.
Whose fault is that?
That's real. What you just said about the student loans doubling. People don't realize that's how they keep getting in more debt, because they always just pay the regular payment amount. They don't pay any interest towards the principal amount, and so you just continue riding in that circle. And so that's hard and that's weird, But every check, since I got intentional and deliberate about it, like every month that I have, like I budget out 3 months ahead of time at the minimum amount that I can get paid. Anything else, I'm like, because I got to give myself a slush because I don't want overdrafts. But anything else is going to savings.
I know about those.
I'm just throwing in the savings. And just a heads up to the listeners, if you get a PayPal like debit account, they actually don't have overdraft fees. So for those out there struggling, I had to get that. My credit was so bad, dog. Like PayPal was one of the only people to offer me a bank account at the time. And I'm not afraid to say that because that was a part of the process. You know, like a couple weeks ago, I was just in Tampa, you know, but it was one of those things where because I had exercised that small amount of discipline, it's always the smaller things in the process that make everything else better. You know what I mean? Like I wouldn't have been able to deploy if I wouldn't have started Dave Ramsey, the plan prior to, because I had no savings, bro. I used that savings plan. You talking about savings and people not spending it? That savings plan saved my career and it saved me from bankruptcy. I was this close to filing. And you know what? We live in the age of technology and it's so powerful. I think when I was typing in bankruptcy, the search engines was getting me. It was like, check out this video by Dave Ramsey. You know, because like as soon as I was like, I'll type in bankruptcy on YouTube. Here's Dave. Don't do that. Don't do that.
Yeah.
I was like, and I was like, you know what? How am I not gonna do that? Like that doesn't even make sense. And you go down that rabbit hole, you finally fold and buy the book. And you get the book, and then you follow the Instagram, and then you follow this, and you follow that, and you're like, this person actually relates to me. Like this is powerful. This scene right here is powerful because you have two African American males talking about becoming debt free. This is powerful to the kids that look like us, and that don't look like us. Because I think so. There's this book by Charlemagne the God. He talks about Black privilege, and it's a powerful thing because we've been through so much as a people, and because we have to become so diverse, and we're so used to hardship. We can help other people become successful. Amass the races, you know what I mean? Just everywhere, different races, cultures, backgrounds. A lot of them gravitate to us because we're very expressional. Like probably the audience is probably seeing in the last 10, 20 minutes, we got the hand gestures, we got the head nods, we got the intensity. Like they love us as coaches and teachers and mentors because that intensity, like you might get the subject, and that's super, super powerful. And so so you talked about, doing the 10% and messing with that. So my question is, what do you know about the is it called Doge?
Oh, Dogecoin? Yeah, Dogecoin. Some people say doggy, Doge. That's what I call it.
Doge. Yeah. Okay, so what these different currencies, I'm not sure. Like I've been watching a lot of Dave, and he's saying but Dave is a part of the older generation.
Right.
Like I haven't put any money there, but I'm like, it's weird to me that somebody can just create a currency overnight and be like, yeah, it's flying.
Hey, you know what's funny? Tommy? Hey, the last time I lost money, remember when I was talking about gambling? It was back in 2017. The last time I lost money was when I bought Bitcoin when it was worth $20,000. When it was on its first run, up to those 5-digit numbers. When that went down to 3K, that was the time I said, that is it. I'm done with this. And that's when I started asking the right questions. That's when I asked my professor, how did you get this house? And then that's when she told me about Dave Ramsey. So to be honest with you, if I never lost money in Bitcoin, I probably would have kept doing what I was doing.
Well, and to be that's powerful because it's like the what do you call it? The hero's journey. Right? You get bit by the spider. Your parents leave you. You know all the heroes. They got a different type of story. Somebody injected you with something.
Yeah.
Like a lot of times that's what you need to get on that journey. Because
I was tired.
Because if I would have made active duty and got into, because the government shut down the year that I was in ROTC getting ready to commission, so they had less slots on active duty. The next year, everybody got what they wanted. The year before me, everybody got what they wanted. It just so happened that fate would have it that I would get put in the National Guard. And what's funny is now I've deployed. I've deployed, and a lot of the cats that went active duty didn't deploy and didn't, you know what I'm saying? They haven't had the different experiences and been with the different units. So that forced me to diversify, but it also forced me to look at my money. You know, because the ultimate goal for me is being able to like say, I can do this, I can do that, and I don't have to do that. I just want my freedom. That's it. I don't want to be rich. If I get rich in the process, because, you know, I'm gonna start looking at some different things. Once I get completely financially free, you know, like I'm gonna start looking into equity in different companies, maybe buying some trucks or investing into a, like, you know, a trucker's truck, and then just having them drive because they love to drive, and then getting passive income off of it. Like a lot of people, they want equality. Like, I don't want equality. I want equity. I want value. And once you start talking value, you start talking a totally different conversation, because most people are not trying to add value to other people. Like, there's so many other people that don't look out for other people to add value to their lives. And they wonder why they're not, you know what I'm saying, experiencing and walking into a realm where like they're genuinely happy, because everything that they do is about them. One big reason why I've always gravitated to you is because even if the truth was harsh, it was real. It was about adding value to another person, you know? And it was powerful when you told me, it's like, go visual. And I was like, you know what? If it's going to add value to another person, I'm about it, you know? And even to this day, like I take like, you know, some of the, cause I give plasma. So I take my plasma money and I'll put it into run ads to make somebody else's day better. You know what I mean? And so when you start doing that, you know, I put it behind the ads on Facebook just for like happy memes, stuff like that. It starts to blow up. And people are like, oh, millennials are. Oh, I'm a millennial. Maybe I can relate to something like that. And then they stumble upon the video with Shawn, and we talking about financial freedom. And they like, maybe that's something that's applicable to me. Maybe that's where I want to be. Maybe that's something that I want to do. And that's completely life-changing, bro. Like it really is. So when the teacher, so what was one of the first pieces of advice? She just said, pick up the book, or did she tell you where to start?
Yeah, she just told me to pick up the book and read it. That was it. She said, read the book.
And that was like, so she had, so she did the whole plan, like from 1 through 8.
I guess I never asked her to tell me her story. You know, if she did follow those plans, that was just the advice that she gave me.
Okay. So, yeah. I mean, but that's powerful in itself. So so I know you're the type of person that likes to read. And so what book lately has been the most pivotal for you in your journey, whether it's financially, spiritually, mentally, those things?
I mean, the most pivotal book is that Dave Ramsey.
Is the Dave Ramsey? Oh, so you still reading that
book? Because it was that book that made me realize how money works. You know, I never really thought too much about it. I'm like, you know, you just go to work and then you make money and you buy whatever you want. You know, you can save a little bit of it, but that's all I really knew. You know, but then when I started reading these, you know, baby steps, and then they talk about why they were so important. So let me run through the rest of them because I brought them up earlier and didn't finish.
Okay, go ahead.
So we already said baby step number 1 is save $1,000, right? 40% of what is it? Americans don't even have $1,000 in order to cover that emergency. Baby step number 2, pay off all debt except for the mortgage, right? Dave Ramsey says to use the snowball method. The snowball method, for the listeners, because I know you said you already read it, is to line up your debt from least to greatest. Right? So you're going to just hit those little ones first, right? You're paying the minimum on all of these debts, and you're just knocking them out one by one. But you're carrying over everything, like all those minimum payments, onto the next one, right? Fact. So just a quick example. Like, let's say you owe somebody $100, and then you owe another person $200 and another person $300, right? So maybe on the $200 and the $300, let's pretend it's a credit card. Right? If
so here go the steps I got to pull down.
Right. So if you know the minimum payment on the other ones is $10, right? Just knock out the $100 one, and then jump to the $200 one, right? And then now you have that extra $10 to put into the 200, and then you do the same thing to the 300. But this time you got that extra $20 because you paid off the 100 and the 200. Now I'm using smaller numbers just to make it easy, But once you run your own numbers, you will see what I mean. You will see like, oh, I'll have an extra, $1,000 to pay towards this, if I pay it off, right? So now,
but the other thing, I'm gonna cut in here. The most powerful thing also about the baby step, about the snowball, is you get momentum, you get motivation. It's like getting, you know what I'm saying? Like you down by, say you down by 20 points in a game, and somebody, your guy, he get the kickoff return and he run it back for a touchdown, and you still got 3 quarters left. So now it's 7-20. And then you get that extra point, it's 10-20. And Dave talks about it's just as much about the momentum and what it does to your esteem as it is the actual numbers. Because that's why we look at things totally different now. Go ahead, brother.
All right, I got you. So baby step number 3, save 3 to 6 months of expenses. So you won't know what your expenses are unless you run a budget. You got to create a budget for yourself, which is like back in baby step number 1 when you were saving this money. Find out, what is your rent, what is your electricity, what is your gas, how much do you spend on food, what is your transportation cost. Add all of this up at the end of the month, right? It'll tell you what your number is for the month. And remember, you already paid off your debt. So I'll even use my number. My number is $1,500, right? It takes $1,500, at least $1,500 a month for me to live. So my 3 months is $4,500 because I simply do 1,500 times 3, right? And then 6 months of that is just double it. So that'll be $9,000. So as long as I have $4,500 to $9,000 in my savings account, that's my emergency fund. I can live without a job. Let's say, heaven forbid, I get fired from my job. I can live 3 to 6 months without any income because I have that saved up. Then baby step number 4 is invest 15% for your retirement, at least 15. So Dave says, even if your job gives you, 5%, let's say they match 5%. So you should do 15. They match the 5, so you get 20% going into your retirement account. If we're talking 401ks right now, like for me, it's a pension because I'm a teacher. So what I've done to make sure I hit that 15% is I've opened up a Roth IRA. Okay.
So explain to them the difference between a Roth and a regular IRA, because this is pivotal.
All right. So we got the Roth. We got the Roth 401k. We got the traditional 401k, and then you got the Roth IRA. The traditional 401k, how it works is it's pre-taxed, right? Like it's not taxed. I'm sorry, it's not taxed at all. It just taken out of your paycheck and put into an account. And then when you retire and you start taking it out, then they start to tax it, right? But the problem with that is, I assume that taxes are going to go up in the future, right? So that's why
they always have.
And then with the Roth IRA is pre-tax. That's the one that's pre-tax money. So I just get my regular paycheck, and then I take a little bit of that money, and then I throw it into my Roth, right? I'm with Charles Schwab. The max on that is $6,000 a year. So I take $500 out of my paycheck and put that in my Roth IRA so I can hit that $6,000 max every single year, right? So for me, that's my 15% when I have my my pension and my Roth. But I'm gonna still save a little bit more money on the side, even though I got my 3 6 months in my Roth and all of that. I still want to put money to the side so I can get to my down payment, but I get to that in a little bit. So baby step number 5 is to build a college fund. He says you don't really have to do this until you have a kid, and you might want to start around like 2 years old. But I was listening to Dr. Boyce. Are you familiar with Dr. Boyce?
I'm not.
Yeah, Dr. Boyce, you got to look him up on YouTube. He B1 Black First all day every day. That's what he always says. But he focuses on Black people creating wealth because like it's not really talked about. Like he's like, we have to get up there as a group of people. So I remember one of the things he said was, yeah, you can start saving for your kids college fund when they 2 years old or 1 year old or when they not born like 0 years old, right? But what about -1 or -2, -3? He threw me off when he started using negatives in terms of birth, right? Where is he going with this? He's saying, imagine saving for your kids' college before they're even born. You don't have to put in, you don't have to sacrifice as much. I'm like, he's right. Think about like, I don't have any children right now. I don't have a child. At least I don't think I do. But I don't have a child. But I'm putting $200 a month in a 529. So by the time I do have a kid, I'll be able to cover the cost of their college.
Well, and that's real. And see, here's the other thing though, is explain to them. Well, and I'm just gonna precursor this. This is after the debt free boy. This is after all that debt is paid off.
Yep.
Now, so because people can get the perception like, where am I gonna get this money? You're gonna get this money because you debt free, because you don't do things just to impress other people. You got that money that you put away and you've been building up your savings. So now you in the clear because you started that snowball and you just killed it. You sliced it apart. And now it's like parting the seas. Now you know where you can walk and put the money. So carry on, my brother.
All right. So you don't have to build the college fund. Some people, might say, my kid gonna pay for their own college. Well, I don't want my kid to go through what I went through. I don't want my kid out here gambling, trying to come up with some extra money to figure out how to pay off this debt. I don't want that to happen, so I pay for it. I gladly do it. Baby step number 6. It says to pay off the mortgage early, you want to put at least 20% down payment. You want to go for a 15-year fixed rate, and the payment, your mortgage should be no more than 25% of your monthly take-home pay. All right. That is pretty tough to try to find a house, especially in Chicago. For only 25% of your paycheck. Like, you know what I'm saying? Your monthly income. So that's gonna be a little rough. But that's what I'm doing right now. Any extra money that I have, I throw into a high interest savings account, so that way it accumulates more than that 0.005% of the Bank of America. I'm hitting at least 2% right now, in saving.
Get out my notebook. You gonna write that down. You said, hey, with the 2% boy. You know what I'm saying? That's the one you want.
Let me say one thing.
Okay.
This is where the second book I read that month that I read Dave Ramsey. Rich Dad Poor Dad by Robert Kiyosaki.
Yeah, I love that book.
He teaches to use debt as leverage, right? So you don't have to use your own money, you can use other people's money. So this is when I kind of push back against Dave Ramsey. Okay. Like, I'm not one of those people that's like, I 100% agree with Dave and everything that he says. I go see, what other options do I have? So let's say I decide not to do the 20% down payment and instead do the 0.5% down payment and then get a multi-unit apartment. Why not do that instead of getting a house? I'll get a multi-unit apartment and I can have my tenants pay my rent or
that's
my mortgage.
Real. That's
right?
real.
If you pay me rent, I'll be paying the mortgage.
And for any military,
and then now my portion of the mortgage is cheaper than my rent, my previous rent, right? And then I can use that same money that used to go to rent to now save to buy the next piece of property.
Well, and here's another thing is, like, for the cats that may be in the military that's watching this, if you get those deployments, save that money, pay off your debt, and put that money to the side, because you coming back with an extra 20 to 40K is something that's unusual for the average person. And you could take that, flip that, buy a small unit. Like, so the current apartment that I live in, it's like a house, but they've cut it up into like, somehow they flipped it into like 8 units. So it's got 8 units. It's a flat. They all got their own bathroom, but they can keep the rent low. But like one unit is paying like one half of, 4 of the rooms is literally paying for the mortgage already.
And then the other 4 is profit.
And they can take that and that profit, they can flip it and do whatever they need to do, or pay it off a lot faster, And a lot of veterans, they have the opportunity to get a spot where like they may be, because a lot of people are renting out rooms. You live in a room to, you know what I'm saying, make sure everything is good, and you rent out 3 of them or, you know, 2 of them, and you can live totally different because now they paying your rent and you ain't got to pay no extra. You ain't got to do nothing extra. Like everything else for you is a win. So you might be able to, you know, like a lot of people, like, you know, once they retire, because you can retire early, now you ain't really got to do a whole lot. Or you can do the equity thing. You can buy into somebody else's stuff. A lot of people don't understand how stocks work. With a lot of stocks, you buy stock in a company and you actually own part of that company.
Yeah, you part owner.
So carry on, my brother.
All right. So yeah. Going back to, instead of doing a house, why not do, you know, a multi-unit house, hack it, right? Use less of your money, have other people pay your mortgage, save on your money, and then you just keep buying multi-units, right? And now you're building a real estate portfolio, right?
Facts.
But which goes into step number 7: build wealth and give, right? So Dave Ramsey loves to say, live like no one else so you can later live like no one else. So
Facts.
for instance, for me, you know, I've been on the bus for what, 4 years? Like I could easily buy a car. I just choose not to because I realize how much money I save without one.
Well, and plus the city that you live in, you got Uber, you got everything. Like, I'm gonna be completely honest with you, bro. Like, if I ever lived in a city like that, like I probably wouldn't even have a car. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Or I'd have something small. I don't care if it get hit. You know what I'm saying? And move around like that. Because 9 times out of 10 in the Chi, you ain't stunting with your car anyway. Like every place is typically within walking distance. The price of parking is sky high.
Mm-hmm.
And it's kind of a lose-lose scenario.
And you getting tickets, boy. They love giving you tickets.
Bro,
I'm so proud of those.
That was at least 5% of the debt that I had back in the day. You know what I'm saying? Was them Chicago parking tickets, the light tickets. They be flashing even when you don't do nothing, bro.
Yeah, man. I had to almost make that part of my budget. I was getting a ticket every month for something. It was always something. Parking, speeding, something. Always something.
Well,
I don't get no more tickets.
Well, and that's real. When you talk about putting that as a part of your budget, people, when y'all start budgeting, put in a budget for leisure. Like everybody is, especially in the state we're in now, take care of your mental health. You know what I'm saying? And if you need that little relaxation to get around, even making a budget for leisure will help you knock out debt. And you can still live a little bit. Like, you know what I'm saying? I got the Apple Watch boy while I was over there, you know what I'm saying, to help me, you know, with my running and stuff, because I'm an athletic dude, you know, make sure I got my steps in and stuff like that. That was powerful because I was like, I was in beast mode. Like when I do something, bro, I'm like, yeah, let's go, you know? And so that's why I was feeling some type of way. You like, hey man, you could go harder than this. I'm like,
yeah.
Why he trying to meet me? Like, this don't feel right.
Hey man, hey, what you doing now? I love it. It's beautiful. Like I went back to watch your like first 2-3 videos, and then I skipped towards like where you at now. I'm like, man, that looks beautiful.
Man,
it looks
I
beautiful. I love your channel.
And look at where we at now. We got the screen up. We got the, you know what I'm saying, showing the baby steps. Like I couldn't have imagined this.
Mm-hmm.
But it's just like the baby steps. You have to start. And then once you surround your mind, and I learned this from, and so I got inspired by Lewis Howes, what is it called? School of Greatness, and then Tom Bilyeu's impact theory. Like they basically do what I'm doing, but like just in different ways, you know, like they have their, you know, little niches and stuff like that. But I was like, why don't I just start with people that I know that are just doing small, brilliant things? Because once you sow that seed, somebody else is like, hey, bro, check out this episode. And like you said, people start going through it and they're like, okay, oh man, they talked about this and they talked about that, because every person has a unique story. And through all those unique stories, you create a community. Like earlier, Shawn, bro, it was so powerful. I was talking to somebody, I was like, because I get the graphics, just like I hit you up, hey, send me a picture so that way I can, you know, start on your graphics, stuff like that. She's like, oh, you do this all on your own? I was like, yeah, this is my brand. Like I started this years ago. I just didn't know what I was going to do with it. And that's powerful because you don't know what life is going to throw at you. You started the Dave Ramsey thing, and then you started reading the other books. You started listening to Dr. Boyce. That was powerful. So it starts changing how you think about things. But your thinking and your tenacity it goes through the roof, because there's a part of like setting a goal, right? You know your goals, you know your parameters, but like that going off a cuff and being creative about it, that's game changing. That's life changing, because you can create your own narrative. And they talk about this. See, another book that kind of spins off of Rich Dad Poor Dad is Think and Grow Rich. So to a lot of people, it sounds like frou things, but like I've started to realize, like, I don't know, it was a long time ago before I did any of the debt free stuff. I have Think and Grow Rich. I have a copy around here somewhere, and it's tabbed up. Like it's actually a small book. It's not super thick. I had it tabbed up, and I started turning to the pages to young me and where I was reading. The problem is I was debt had me so shaken. I was so handcuffed by not having any resources. I felt like I couldn't think and grow rich. But I didn't realize I just wasn't ready for that process. Because when I originally had that book, I didn't have a daughter. You know what I mean? And that changed how I looked at money. Like, I want to use it to provide for her, you know, some things that, you know, there was a conversation me and her mom had, you know, we not together. But it's one of those things where we're really good at co-parenting. Like, you know, we just, you know what I'm saying? Boom. Oh, you told her this. Okay, I'm going to capitalize on this. Okay, we're going to talk about this. We're going to do this. And one day she was like, yeah, I had to take her out of so-and-so, you know, class or whatever, because we didn't have the money. And I was like, and I had to tell her, I was like, don't ever do that again. If you need money for my kid to be successful, for our child to have these experiences, I will go above and beyond. I'll go give plasma so she can get the week of swim lessons. You feel me? Because that is so pivotal when they're young. And ever since then, we just been in synergy. She like, oh yeah, I sent you this email, da 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 da. She need this. Okay, cool. You know, and it is so inspirational, because it's like she wanted this educational program. My daughter likes games. Like, education is a game to her. Like, just this weekend we was at Denny's, and she was looking up, and she was reading the sign up there, like trying to sound like that was fun to her, you know. And it was just like, man, that's powerful, because we can have genuine conversations. Like, I think I said moderation, you know, and she was like, moderation. Like, she was literally trying to visualize the words in her mind. And that's powerful, because when people see us do stuff like this, that little inner kid in them was like, what would my life look like if I could go to Florida and not worry about money? If I could go to the grocery store and get the Fruit Loop boys versus the Fruity O's. You feel me? Because the problem is as Americans, we've overreached. We going for the Fruit Loops when we don't need them.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And there's no value in that. Like, that's the hardest part, you know, with the stimulus stuff, is like, there's really not a lot of value in free, because people they blow it, you know?
Yeah.
And that's a big conversation. Like, the greatest part right now is with budgeting and money and finances, the world is wide open for everybody to be great, because people is hiring at high rates. Like, the turnover is bad out here because people are like still on unemployment. So we gonna live in a world where, like, people said ain't no jobs and they need money, but they don't want the jobs. But that creates opportunity for everybody else. That pain point. Everybody who's listening, your hero's journey is time now. And it starts with the 7 baby steps. So, you know, I know I got a little philosophical. I kind of go on soapboxes, my troops that overseas. I think as you level up in the military, you just start going on rants, and then
yeah, because man, hey, it's okay, man. I know it's a lot on your heart, and you want everybody to, you know, get the most out of this episode.
I just want to be great.
I get it, bro. I'm the same way in front of the kids. You don't think I go on rants too,
bro? Like,
all right, let's get back to this math, y'all.
You know what I'm saying? Like, but I used to love it. Like my math teachers, like, shout out to Miss Donahue. She inspired me to go to EIU. But like, it was fun because like you could get her to go off topic by talking about her kids or something, you know, whatever. And then pretty soon the bell ring.
Yeah, my kids already know. Hey, bring up. Hey, so how does this stock stuff work? It's over. It's over.
So, quick question before we round out the podcast: can you explain to me what mutual funds are?
Mutual funds. I never used them. I only read about them. I never have.
Okay, because Dave Ramsey recommends them, but
bro, that's another thing I disagree with. Okay.
Ooh.
Okay. So
speak on it.
Okay. All right. I got you. So the thing about mutual funds is that it's actively managed by a portfolio investor, right? Like is some fund manager is trying to beat the average returns of the market, and the average returns is generally 8 to 10%. But the problem with that is, and as you saw on my Facebook post, when you try to beat the market, sometimes it don't work in your favor. So they might be trying to beat the market, and then guess what? They undercut, right? So you could have been in a fund like S&P 500 or an ETF like BOO, right, the Vanguard. You would have got the regular market return, but because you're trying to go with some other guy who's trying to beat the market return, you don't make as much. Or additional to, they charge funds higher than an ETF, right? Exchange traded fund. When you add up all the fees that they're doing on your portfolio, it'd be like somewhere between 2 to 3%. Now, 2 to 3%, you might be like, well, that's not a lot, even if they charge you 2 to 3%. But over your lifetime, before you get into your retirement, that's you gonna lose at least a third of your portfolio from losing that 2 to 3%. Like the gains that it could have been, opposed to going to an ETF. Instead of charging 2 to 3%, you know what they charge? They charge 0.2%, right? Or 0.08%. They charge 20 times less. So you get to keep your gains. So I don't do mutual funds. I decided to do ETFs instead, and I'm gonna just stay in that realm. It was a book that I read. I forgot the name of the book. It was with what's his name? Tony
Robbins?
Tony Robbins, Money Master the Game. That's
you read that? Is it a good book?
It's a good book. I really enjoyed it.
Okay, because I want to read it, but like a lot of books, I'm very hesitant on finance to read them until like I'm completely debt free, because I know me and I'm like, I can start doing it, and I'm gonna be mad at myself later that I started doing too much. But during the next deployment, I might have to, get those. But I'm probably gonna reach out to you before I leave, and then we're gonna chop it up. You can send me some book recommendations so I can just buy a stack of them, or have some people send them to, because they send care packages. So I'm like, hey, you want to send me? I don't really do the candy boys because I lack discipline.
Yeah,
so I eat the whole bag.
Let me throw a few more books out there before you end the podcast or something like that.
Okay.
Another pivotal book for me was besides Think and Grow Rich. By the way, I read that book too. I really loved it. What is it? What is it called? The Richest Man in Babylon.
Yes, powerful.
Give me a minute.
I have it on audiobook.
The Richest Man in Babylon, man. That book is so small.
I wasn't ready for that.
Like 3 times.
I wasn't ready for that one until I started paying off debt, and it started to make sense to me.
Yeah, I listened to, it's free on YouTube. You can just listen to the audio book, man. I listened to that thing like 3 times and read it 4. It was awesome. And then I got a few more books too, and I got them on the side. The Millionaire Next Door. That was the third book that I read.
I love that book. It talks about what the rich do and don't do. When I got my Buick, that's why I got the Buick. I was like literally locked in because they kept talking about the Buick.
Let me ask you this question. Did you read the book that came out afterwards, The Millionaire Mind?
No, I did not. Hold on.
You gotta read this book, because it gives more context to why the millionaires, became millionaires. Like, I'll tell you, like, one of my favorite chapters was, let me see. Let me go to the table of contents.
I'm gonna use my credits on Audible to get this one like right now.
My favorite chapter was about the choice of spouse. The choice of spouse.
Bro, that's powerful.
Bro, that was my favorite chapter.
I don't, and here's and they talked about that in The Millionaire Next Door as well. You know, like the spouses and how like one of them had, you know, the family that was giving the money and all that stuff. And it really talks about how that can really emasculate you as a man. Because now they looking at, you know what I'm saying? Now you talking about manhood, you talking about stuff like that. You talking about womanhood, you talking about the meshing together. And like, so there was, I don't know if you knew the lady that worked at the bookstore, but she owned the bar. She owned Stu's, I think. She worked at EIU bookstore. And like I always wondered, and then I found out they owned the bar. Like they owned.
Was it the older one in the back?
Nah, this one. She ain't probably gonna ever watch this podcast, but she was gorgeous, Hispanic looking, like older. You know, she had the little gray strands, but she was still a baddie. You know what I'm saying? and she had charisma too. So she. Oh yeah, sweetheart. You know you know, like I don't know if she saw it younger.
We're talking about the same one. I'm pretty sure.
And yeah, but she wasn't. I don't know. She wasn't older than me. Maybe I just got a name, you know, whatever. But but she would make you feel special every time you came in the bookstore.
Yeah.
But we was chopping it up, and she was giving me like tips just on life and just different stuff. And like she changed how I looked at things as well, you know, because she was always trying to find me the discounts. Well, this would fit you. I can run a sale on this and hook you up with this. And I found out they was good with money. And I was like, but like power couples are created out of intentional things. So I'm gonna definitely have to dig deep into the millionaire mind, because that's the other thing is like being a military guy, like you a target. Like they all want the instant marriage, but I'm like, sweetheart, like you're boring. You know what I mean? Or I'm boring to you, or like we don't live by the same principles financially. Like that's probably the biggest turnoff. Like as of late, I've been so focused on just the podcast and fitness and doing my thing and working and just trying to get ready for this next appointment. Like I've completely like just stopped getting on the day naps. Like I don't even have them on my phone, bro.
Yeah, hey,
like when you get passionate and deliberate about what you're doing, it's like your goals is coming first. And when you talk about the spouse thing, you have to pick. That's pivotal.
Yeah,
Patrick Bet-David talks about it too.
Yeah. Hey, I was watching this video.
Bro, he's powerful. And the thing is he was like, he literally talked to I think he was talking to like couples or whatever before they was getting married. And it was like, well, sweetheart, like no offense, but they're teachers. Like it's harsh, but it's something you would say, like something you and I would say is like if we entrepreneurs, why are we listening to teachers about relationship advice when they're not gonna have the same thing? Like you a teacher, obviously I'm more of an entrepreneurial minded person, right? It's like money, cool, like, you know, basic stuff, like, but you need to be in a pathway. And I made a podcast this morning about that. Was like, you need to be surrounded by people that are intentional and deliberate, that have done what you said you want to do, or they have some type of leg of experience there. Right? It could be in the realm of finance, it could be the realm of career, but that has to be intentional. The person that you decide to marry as well. Like you can't marry somebody that just they used to Chanel bags and you don't even look at designer.
Yeah.
You know, like that, man. And a lot of people they want to get married because of the glitz and the glamour of everything that it looks like and it feels like. I'm gonna be honest, like if I'm keeping it 100, the people that I've researched, it ain't about the feels. After the first 2-3 years, you know what I mean? All that good stuff that you made you the warm and fuzzies, that goes away.
Yeah.
We start to see how that person experiences trauma. Like I have a rule now, even with dating, like I won't commit for like 18 months. And whoever watches this podcast, do whatever you will with that information. But at that point, I get to see the seasons that you go through. You get to see me be in the military and how that works and the time away. And if you can deal with that, because I'm a realist and I know a lot of people can't deal with that. Like a lot of people's love language is personal touch, but I can't, you know what I'm saying? I can't touch you, you know, from Germany, you feel me? Or, you know, wherever I get sent, you know what I mean? And so it's one of those things where, but that career in the long haul, I can lock in a retirement early. I could become, you know, whatever rank, you know what I mean? God bless me, you know, like I would love to be a general one day. It's probably not going to happen, but you know what I mean? We all got to have, if your dreams is big enough, you start walking into that direction and start figuring those things out. But the thing is like, you have to be realistic. Can they date a teacher? You know what I mean? Like, do they, you know, you might level up and become big teacher one day, you know, mass professor, all this stuff, you know, traveling the world like Jordan Peterson one day. You know what I'm saying? Like, what type of lifestyle, you know what I'm saying, are they used to? How have their parents conditioned them? You know, there's a friend, and I'm not gonna say her name, but her parents are so used to just spending money and blowing money, she has that same habit. Like, shout out to her, because she's making, I think she's gonna make crazy pivotal moves. But you know, she got on me the other day because she was like, "You said you was gonna send me some Dave Ramsey stuff." But normally when I tell people that, like, I usually don't, because it pisses them off, because like people get this envious thing, and I'm like, no, I want you to grow. I'm literally, I value my time so much. So if I send you something, that means I see something in you that you don't see in yourself.
Yeah.
And you being, you know, in finance and being an accountant and not knowing anything about managing your own money, like once you start to master that, you can take companies to the next level. You can start your own organization and take it to the next level. But we have to master our spending, because, and a lot of us just got this big hole in our heart. We don't love ourselves enough, and so we start trying to stuff it with money and things. And guess what? When you go home at night, when you lay your head on the pillow and you're not doing something that's intentional and deliberate, and your heart's not in it, you stuck sleeping on that Chanel bag. You stuck sleeping on that Rolly, and that Rolly can't keep you warm at night. Not like yourself, not like self-love, not because you decided to make positive change in your life and you love who you are and you love adding value to other people's lives. So my guy, I appreciate you coming on the podcast. We're gonna chop it up about books, man. We might have to do a series on like just book clubs. You know what I'm saying? We might just,
right?
You know what I'm saying, do like a book a month or something, and just chop it up about the book and like some of the most pivotal things.
This is what I'm reading right now.
Rule breakers, rule makers. Okay, let me. Man, I'm going down a rabbit hole typing these in. Next time I'm up there in the city, bro, we're gonna have to link, you know what I'm saying? And you know what I'm saying? Go out, get a beverage or something, you know what I'm saying? And just chop it up. Like, you know what I'm saying? This is a part of our circle now, because with this much knowledge, that's powerful. Like one day we might get us, you know, part owners in a team, you know what I'm saying? Or something like that. Because when people are financially free, man, that's crazy.
Yeah.
You can almost do whatever you want.
You can, yeah. That's true.
It's really powerful out here. And there's one thing I want to say before we end it. Most rich people, most people who have money, they're not trying to keep the man down. If anything, when they see you walking in truth and they see you doing good with your money and they see you smart and trying to make a change, some of the wealthiest people have just, some of the best things they've done is giving me knowledge. It's like, here, young brother, this is how I want you to do this. Like they care. Like they, you know what I'm saying, that last step of giving and, you know, building wealth, that's real. Dave didn't have to put none of this stuff out for us. But here are you and I sitting here as a testament today, changed our lives. And then that's going to transcend everything. So, bro, I appreciate you coming on the podcast. You got any questions for me before we end?
No, man. Just let me know when you want to link up.
All right, bro. I got you, man. I got to free up some stuff. I'm prepping for annual training and all that stuff. Yeah. The deployment cycle is already started. Like I'm going to be out of here next January. So I got to get ducks in a row. But I'll be in touch, bro. We going to link. So
yeah, whenever, bro. I'm going to still be here.
All right, big dog. Ladies and gentlemen, Shawn Hutson.